Hello there, I'm the CCG Collector, and today we're going to be opening up this Middle-earth CCG challenge deck. Now, there were 10 challenge decks designed. There were 5 with the Wizards, and there were 5 with the Ringwraiths from the Lidless Eye expansion. This one is challenge deck B, features Alatar as the main wizard, and the theme is Release the Prisoners. Now, with these challenge decks, I.C.E. did something that I feel a lot of other card game designers should have done. And it was a little late in their development cycle, but they finally introduced a product that really let players experience and understand the game and the different things you could do with it. Their first attempts at a starter set or a starter deck were random mixes of cards. This was the case in the Wizards, this was the case in the Lidless Eye, and other games do it as well. For example, the Star Wars CCG, the premier starter decks were just 60 random cards. They did have, and the same goes with the special edition starter decks. They did have the Death Star 2 pre-constructed starters, but those were more to just give an idea of the basic concepts of the game. Starship warfare, ground fighting, planet systems, interrupts, and so on. These challenge decks were really designed to take into account all of the possibilities of the Middle-earth CCG. And that's why each of these has a theme. Return of the King, for example, the goal is to get Aragorn to become recognized as the king again with the cards associated with that. Bargain Between Friends really focuses on picking up allies and factions as you travel around this map here with Radagast. Release the Prisoners, I expect, does just that. They're cards called Release Prisoners. But, you know what? Let's take a look and see what's actually inside this challenge deck here. Now, you'll see right away that it is a very, you probably saw already, that it is a very hefty box. And the reason for this is that it contains 110 cards. Now, a lot of card games only require 40 cards or 60 cards, but Middle-earth is such that it requires a lot more. So these decks have, we've got 30 hazards and 30 resources because you need the same amount of each. So that's 60 right there. You got to have the sites to go to, so that's another 15, brings you up to 75. These included a sideboard, so that takes you up to 95. And then there are 15 additional cards, the characters and then the starting items that your initial company will use. So you have a lot of cards in these decks. And this is a standard deck. It's not an overblown deck. It's not an oversized deck. It is what you would expect to have in a Middle-earth deck. But let's take a look here. Now, these were released, as I said earlier, a little bit late in the development cycle of the game. I think they were made in 1998. The Wizards set was released in 95. Then you had Dark Minions and the Dragons that came in 96, I think. Lidless Eye was 97, as was Against the Shadow and the White Hand. And then finally the Balrog set was in 1998. And so were these challenge decks. And you can see that they all have gray borders. Now, this gray border indicates that these cards are all reprints. Other than that, they look identical to the cards that they reprinted. I mean, they still have the same copyright 95 or 96 on them. They have, in appropriate cases, I'm trying to find an example, but the symbol of the set that they came from. This seems to be a lot of wizard stuff. Here we go. Oh, that's kind of ugly looking, but that's from Dark Minions, I believe. But yeah, these are all gray bordered. I don't actually know the legality of using these cards in a tournament setting, but unfortunately there aren't too many MECCG tournaments going on these days, so I'm not sure it matters much. That said, these challenge decks could be a good way to get some of the harder cards. Like one of them contains Assassin, I think, and maybe it's this one, who knows. But that's generally a $10, $13, $15 card. And if you can get it in a challenge deck, so much the better. So, and if you were to try to piece together a challenge deck, with just buying singles, it would be way more expensive than the 20 or 30 bucks I paid for this. So you can actually find these. I purchased these on eBay very recently, a couple of weeks ago. So you can actually find these challenge decks still. And I would argue that the price you pay for them is a very fair price to get yourself into the game. Because otherwise, trying to see, okay, so here are all the Rescue Prisoners cards that the deck is themed around. But otherwise, if you're trying to build a deck from scratch, you're looking at quite a bit of initial investment that these challenge decks avoid. Also, because they have a theme, okay, and this is heavily Gates of Mourning, I see. Well, it's a wizard deck, of course it is. Because they have a theme. Ooh, see, Villia, I will get to the point I'm making, believe me, I will. But Villia, this is a rare from the Wizards, and I'm sure it's at least $4, $5, $6. This one card, you know, would it count for half the cost of this? Well, okay, a third or fourth of the cost of this challenge deck. So I would say that that's worth it. Okay, Chill Dowser, Corpse Candle. What's Alatar doing back there? But the nice thing about using these as a starting point is that you do have a strategy already there. You do have a theme already there. Oh, I hope I can open this. Yeah. And you can be playing something and you can understand how the game works. And your opponent can also have his own theme and his own objectives that he's going after as well, without having to have that initial heavy investment. Now, see, what's interesting to me, and I don't know why they do it on some and don't do it on others, it feels like all of the resource cards have the art from the Wizards, from the initial printing, especially like Gates of Mourning, for example. But all of the hazard cards, maybe not all of them, but a substantial amount of them, are the reprints. Like Slayer was in the Wizards, but he was also in the Lidless Eye. And there it was reprinted, you can see 1997, but as part of a legitimate set, so it would have had a black border, and it would have had this new art, which looks significantly better than the original ones. So you can see this also contains cards from Against the Shadow, which is one of the later sets and harder to come by. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention is that every single card indicates what challenge deck it's from. Lure of Expedience. Yeah, okay, well, so this is odd. Or maybe it's not. Lure of Nature, this has the Wizards artwork. Lure of Expedience has the Lidless Eye artwork. I don't recall off the top of my head if Lure of Expedience came from, man, that's cool art, came from the Wizards, or if that was a completely new card for the time. Bear Downs, Blue Mountain, Dwarfhold, Bree. So here are all the locations, the sites, rather. And now you have your sideboard. And these are indicated by the challenge deck letter in a black circle instead of in a white one. And it looks like they give you a different wizard if you choose to go a different route. Maybe you never pull Alatar. Maybe your opponent is running a strategy that Alatar doesn't work out well for. Maybe it's time to use Radagast instead. If you find yourself in the wilderness a lot, I don't know. But yeah, so there's the sideboard. There's Ghosts, which I know is from the Wizards, but this artwork is from the Lidless Eye. Twilight. Very cool looking card. Veils Flung Away. So those are the cards. Now each challenge deck also came with its own special rule book. Middle-earth challenge decks, rules, summary, and play tips. So they give you the outline of all the rules, and these are the rules that take into account all the additional sets as well. So, and the additional rules as a result of that, like detainment attacks. I don't know how well it's focusing here, but detainment attacks, influencing opponents, resources, and characters, and so on. Let's see what else they have in here. Yeah, but you have that. I mean, of course, it's tiny text because there's rules upon rules. They have card descriptions and examples, the map. So this part is kind of like the original rule book. But it also has a play tips section. And for each challenge deck, Stewards of Gondor, here we go, Release the Prisoners, you can see the idea of the challenge deck. Elrond leads Alatar's companies into the orc holds of the mountains surrounding Rivendell. Their errand is to rescue free people captives and recover stolen items. Gates of Mourning and strong warriors see them through. The hazards feature a classic mix of corruption with undead. So it tells you what they expect your starting company to be, and of course you can play around with it, do whatever you like, but it tells you what they expect your starting company to be, which sites you should probably look to go to for different resources, because some sites can have like a minor and a major and a gold ring item, whereas others can only have a minor and a major item. So don't waste your major item on Isengard, because now you can't use the site anymore. And what if you have a gold ring you want to play? How are you going to get Vilya out? So it suggests the different sites that you can use to play your resources, and the benefits of using this particular wizard, how you should use your hazards, suggestions to the sideboard, and so on. And it goes on like that for every single challenge deck in here. So yeah, very cool. You've got a great built, ready to play deck, truly ready to play, not just a generic thing, but a deck with lots of possibilities, 10 different styles and themes that you can play from. Instead of just here are the good guys, here are the bad guys, let's see what happens. It's a fully built deck with a theme, with a goal, with play tips, and for 20 or 30 bucks, that is not bad. You can get these on eBay, these challenge decks. Otherwise, sites like Gwyhere.net, who I've reviewed, and eaglecard.org, who I've also reviewed, do offer, I think, a lot of the Minion, the Ringwraith challenge decks, but because they are overseas, shipping might be a little bit more pricey than you'd like. But they're out there, okay? If you want to get into the game, challenge deck might be a good way to do it. I'm the CCG Collector. This is Challenge Deck B, Alatar, Release the Prisoners. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.